let's go to the ripple effects across the rest of the league now, because I do think that that's also a really, really interesting situation and spot for uh, figuring out where the league goes from here. The Los Angeles Lakers are probably the big loser here. It
Yeah.
seems like they had wrapped their mind around potentially looking into a Kyrie deal. I'd kind of been told that that wasn't something they were wildly interested in early in the season. Obviously, they could have gotten him early in the season or late in the off season, and they didn't do that, which goes to that point. But I think they made a pretty real offer to the Nets, and ultimately the offer was just not as good as Dallas's. So where does this leave the Lakers? Do they actually try and use these picks now to go out and get like a Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby hybrid deal for Russell Westbrook? Do they go out and try and convince Chicago to part with one of its stars? Do they go out and try and answer the backcourt question? Or is this a team that's just going to ride LeBron James and Anthony Davis into the play-in tournament?
I don't have a good answer for you, Sam. I mean, there's still a few days left, and we'll see what the Lakers try to have up their sleeve here. Like for me, in this, you're not just looking for potential trade partners or teams with the space or the cap maneuverability if they were to take on Westbrook to be able to make that work, but you want pieces that space the floor better around LeBron and Anthony Davis than what they currently have. It all comes back to finding shooting if you're the Lakers. And Kyrie Irving would have been a huge upgrade on the offensive side of the floor. And I'd believe Anthony Davis, when healthy, can do enough to mitigate some of the defensive challenges. So maybe you go out there and you get like the lightest version of that type of role from a guard that you could find. Maybe it's Terry Rozier. Maybe it's Fred VanVleet. Like there are different ways that they can manipulate just getting those guards that are available in their system. I think there's a move that will be made here. I obviously don't think the Lakers can stand pat while they've got LeBron kind of in his prime for God knows how many years left of this, but not too many. They're definitely the losers from this deal just because now every other team that they're going to pick up the phone and call has a little bit more leverage.
Yeah, they need to do something. I think at the end of the day is the way to put it. Like they need to go out and find a point guard, find shooting, find defensive ability on the wing as well. Like they need more two-way players, I think is what it comes down to. The Toronto deal is the one that just makes a world of sense to me. If Toronto decides at the deadline that they want to shift into, pseudo rebuild mode, maybe not quite like full rebuild with Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam there, but if they want to cash in on OG Anunoby, if they want to cash in on Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, I wonder if they could do that. If Toronto really wanted to go nuts here, I think that the deal I've been talking about is like Memphis for, Zaire Williams, one of Dylan Brooks or Danny Green, and then multiple first round picks, right? You get a couple of first round picks in Zaire Williams from Memphis. I wonder if the Lakers would do Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent for at least one, maybe two of those picks. You could end up with 3 or 4 first round picks into the future, in addition to having Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes on your roster. And that's a very advantageous position to be in if you're the Toronto Raptors and you're rebuilding. The Raptors, I know that Kyrie held the keys to the deadline here for 72 hours, but the Raptors are still the team that are in the driver's seat. They're the team that is going to shift this deadline more than anyone else, because if they decide that they want to rebuild and reshift all of this moving forward, I mean, Memphis can get involved. The Pelicans can get involved. All of these other teams are really, really going to want OG Anunoby. And then the Lakers are over here. They're desperate for shooting, desperate for defensive capability, especially at the point of attack, like someone like Fred VanVleet can bring. I don't know, man. I hate watching this Raptors team. I'm just sick of it at this point. They're miserable to watch. It feels like this iteration of the Raptors should be done, I think is where I'm at. Be it firing Nick Nurse in the offseason, be it moving on from some of these players. They should do something. It's just what do they do? And again, we're 5 days out from the deadline, and it seems like they're going to take it to the end, and they're still the team in the driver's seat here.
Another ripple effect team to me that I can't stop thinking about right now are the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Whether it's the long expressed interest that they have in Kevin Durant, or going back to this past summer with trying to think about that as a rumor. Like, and I'm not out here trying to say Kevin Durant's going to ask his way out of Brooklyn over the next 3 or 4 days, but you got to look at Phoenix as a team that wants to hit that button as many times as possible to probe the Nets to see if they can make something happen. You've got to believe that we know something's going to happen with Jay Crowder here over the next 3 or 4 days. So Phoenix is one that's really interesting to watch. And I think that they have developed a real need on their roster, which is for a bigger wing that can knock down shots and play, physical defense against some of the better wings that they'll find in the Western Conference. They're a team to watch here moving forward.
Yeah, Cam Johnson is great, and I really like Cam Johnson, and he's absolutely a 30-minute per game player in the play, or 25 to 30-minute per game player in the playoffs. Like, awesome player. If you look at his advanced numbers, they are like through the roof this year because they've been awesome when he's been on the court. They need another option, like in addition to him. They really need more depth. They need more ways to match up with opposing teams. They just need a lot. Like, it's funny, like, we're talking about Dallas and Kyrie and Luka, and Phoenix obviously, like, embarrassingly lost to Dallas last year in the playoffs. Which one of those two teams do you think is better equipped to beat Denver in the playoffs?
Can I pick neither?
I think it's like not even close. As currently constructed, Phoenix is way more well equipped.
Just because they have somebody at the 5 who can play a modicum of defense.
Right.
But I still worry about the lack of size that they have elsewhere. I think Phoenix is really small on the wings. Really small.
Yeah. They're long, but like not overly physical is kind of the way to put it. Right. And that shows in their free throw rate. They don't get to the line a ton. It shows in the way that they defend teams. Mikal Bridges is physical. He's just skinny and not like wildly strong, and doesn't play that like brand, right? So they need a guy like that. Well, I agree with you totally.
And it shows in the way that they're defended, Sam, because there have been a lot of teams. Like, I go back to the Toronto and Phoenix game from earlier in the week when they would put Scotty Barnes on Chris Paul, chase him over the top of screens. And if they felt like they needed to switch, okay, now they've got a big guy on Chris Paul trying to dare him to beat them one-on-one, but they've got size where they can keep Ayton off the glass a little bit more when they have to switch those ball screens. By not having a more physical presence at the 4 and somebody who's just all spot up shooting for them, it really makes it challenging to avoid those cross matches, which make Chris Paul's life a little bit harder as a creator.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really, really good point as well. The other team worth talking about here is the Clippers, right? Yeah. So the Clippers were a team that, by Adrian Wojnarowski, was reported to have gotten into the mix here to try and consider a Kyrie Irving deal. I'll be honest with you, I would have hated this deal for the Clippers. The Clippers' problem is not they just need another point guard. The problem with the Clippers is that they need ball movement. They need guys who are unselfish, who will move that thing around the perimeter, who will get teams into rotation. As good as Kyrie Irving is, and he is fucking exceptional. He is unbelievable at basketball. He's not that guy. Like, this team would have stagnated even more on offense than what it is now, with guys like Kawhi, Paul George, Norman Powell, Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, X, Y, and Z, right? Like, you can go down the list. Like, none of their guys really move the ball. That's what they need to prioritize in getting a point guard. It's why I've liked the look of their offense better when Terrence Mann plays point guard than when guys like Reggie Jackson and John Wall play point, right? That's like, if I was them, I'd be looking more at Alex Caruso than Kyrie. And it largely is because of the price tag, because Alex Caruso will go for less than Kyrie, because of course he will. But also, I think that Caruso fixes the ills that they have a little, the specific ills that they have. not saying that like I would take Alex Caruso over Kyrie on the Clippers necessarily, but that's more the direction I would look if I was them, trying to fix the ball movement issue as opposed to trying to fix like another isolation scorer, another like guy who's going to pound the ball into the ground, try and shake somebody, get to the rim, try and shake somebody, get a pull up three. Like they need ball movement. They need to stop stagnant offense, not potentially add more stagnant offense, as good as Kyrie is.
When you get to the playoffs, Paul George or Kawhi Leonard essentially function as your point guards because those are the guys that you're going to want to have the ball in their hands most of the time. So this is much more about floor spacing and adequate point of attack defense than it is adding just another star player to the mix here. Totally agree with that. I think that probably doing their due diligence to see what the price tag was on Kyrie. If it doesn't end up costing them too much, if they didn't have to include any sort of a pick in the way that Dallas ended up doing, then like what's the major downside here of adding that much talent to your roster? But I agree with you. I think that there are better uses of their trade deadline capital than trying to go at Irving.
I think that's the best way to put it. There are better uses of what they can do, essentially. Okay. Trying to think, do I have anything else on my list in terms of this deal? I mean, I have the like Kevin Durant, what happens with him next part of this. We kind of touched on that. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. Kevin Durant seems like his own guy who really cares about basketball. I would imagine that he'll see how this season goes the rest of the way, makes the decision from there at the end. Like that feels like the most likely outcome, right?
Yeah, probably does.
Okay. That's all I've got on the Kyrie deal. So I will just ask you very quick questions here to finish.
Sure.
These are the big questions of this deal. Does the fit with Luka Doncic and Kyrie work? Yes or no?
That's such an asterisk-worthy question. The optimist in me says yes.
Okay. I think it will work for half a season on the court. Does Dallas re-sign Kyrie long-term?
Yes, because I think he's going to be a good enough Samaritan over the next 4 or 5 months to get the Mavericks to thinking that that's a good idea.
I agree with you. Does it end up being a fully guaranteed 4-year contract like Kyrie seems to want?
No. I think that it will be incentive laden as much as having different guarantee dates or triggers.
I think it will be fully guaranteed.
You do.
And I think that is a bad idea for Dallas.
Yeah.
Does Brooklyn make the second round of the playoffs?
Ooh. I'm going to say no.
To do that, you would think they will be playing one of, if they can hold on to that. Right now, they're the 4 seed. Maybe Miami is like right now what their matchup would be. Maybe they end up falling to 6. They end up playing Philly.
Yeah.
Cleveland is right in that mix. So it'd be one of, let's say Cleveland, Miami, Philadelphia is the most likely team that they're going to end up playing. Do they win a first round playoff series?
I think they can beat Miami. I think it's a unique matchup with Cleveland. But my money says no. I would not put money on Brooklyn winning a first round series today.
I am going to say yes, that they do still, because I believe in Kevin Durant. I will never bet against Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I am the biggest fucking mark for Kevin Durant on planet Earth, and I know it, and I don't care. Okay. Next. Does Dallas make a follow-up trade?
Yeah, they kind of have to.
I think so. I think the answer to that is yes. Does Brooklyn make a follow-up trade?
I would, but I can also understand standing pat. So again, I will say yes, just because I think it's what I would do. But I don't think that they're in a situation where they have to as badly as Dallas does.
Okay, I'm going to say that they don't end up making a significant follow-up trade. I don't know the answer to that. I'm just like, these are all predictions. Yeah. We're all just like guessing here, right? We don't know. Okay. Do the Lakers make a trade?
Yes.
Okay, I agree with you. I think they make a substantial trade. Do the Clippers make a trade?
Yes, but probably not as substantial.
I think yes, and I think that they still very strongly try to make a real move. That is a very aggressive front office, and I think that
Yes.
they
No,
will
it is.
continue to try. Um, do the Suns make a move outside of Jay Crowder?
No, I think the only one that they would entertain is for Kevin Durant. I think that they're at this point probably aiming for the off season and wanting to keep their optionality open to see if the Durant and Brooklyn situation ends, then they can get him in Phoenix.
I think that that is the most likely outcome as well.